Imagine waking up every day in a world where sunlight feels like a stolen gift. Your words get lost in a sea of unfamiliar tongues, and the quiet isn't peace. It's the sound of hidden power plays brewing just out of sight. Would you survive that? Drop a quick comment below. Could you handle even a week in a place like that? Today, let's step right up to the edge of the US-Mexico border, where Tijuana's bustling streets hide La Mesa Prison, a spot that's seen it all, from a wild prison village buzzing with markets, eateries, and families raising kids behind bars, to a lockdown fortress after a massive government overhaul. But here's the question that keeps nagging. Does slamming the door on chaos really lock it out, or just force it into darker corners? And for us on this side of the border, how close does that shadow creep to our own backyard? Think about those American-style isolation tactics we know all too well. Could this be a mirror staring back? So stick with me until the end, because in the next few minutes, we're going to peel back the walls of La Mesa. Not just to see what's happening inside, but to uncover what it really means for justice, for power, and for us. And I promise you, once you hear what's hiding in those shadows, you'll never look at the word control the same way again. Ever wonder why even tough cartel hitmen would plead to stay out of a prison tucked away in Tijuana? Nestled in Tijuana's La Mesa neighborhood, just minutes from the San Diego border, this state-run facility, officially the Centro de Reinserción Social La Mesa, was built back in 1956 for a modest 600 low-risk inmates. But as Tijuana became a hotspot for cross-border smuggling, with guns heading south and drugs north, the prison swelled to over 7,000 souls at its peak, earning a rep as one of Latin America's most chaotic lockups. Overcrowding mixed with corruption created a pressure cooker where basic rights often crumbled. Reports highlight systemic issues like thin staffing and poor oversight, turning it into a symbol of borderland struggles. But hold on, what if I told you it wasn't always this ironclad nightmare? It started as something almost like a quirky community, a pueblo thriving inside those walls. Sounds bizarre, doesn't it? If you've got stories of wild prison setups like this, share them in the comments. I'd love to hear. What would life look like if prisoners built and ran their own mini-town right under the guards' noses? Picture the 1990s and early 2000s. La Mesa, dubbed El Pueblito, or the Little Village, was a surreal world where over 5,000 inmates, including dozens of Americans, hustled through makeshift streets. There were shops selling everything from clothes to Chinese food, churches hosting services, tailor workshops, even boxing matches and concerts. Families lived there too, wives, kids, the whole deal, creating a bizarre blend of normalcy and nightmare. Wealthy inmates splurged on luxuries like jacuzzis, while the poor scraped by in squalor. It was like a twisted social experiment, fueled by bribes and cartel cash. Then in 2002, under President Vicente Fox's anti-corruption push, 1,500 troops stormed in, demolished the fancy zones, fired corrupt guards, and rebuilt it as a stricter regime to reclaim control. So did this big reset finally snuff out the violence, or just reshape it? After they tightened the reins, did the storm clouds clear, or did trouble just simmer below the surface? Not even close. By 2008, the new La Mesa boiled over in back-to-back riots. It started on September 14th with a clash over alleged guard abuse, claiming 4 lives. Then on the 17th, full-blown mayhem. Inmates battled police amid fires and gunfire, leaving at least 19 more dead and dozens injured, over 23 total in that bloody wave. The triggers? Lingering overcrowding, slashed family visits, and brewing resentment from heavy-handed enforcement. What looked like order on the outside actually shoved the violence into hidden spots, turning open chaos into underground grudges that exploded when pushed too far. It's a reminder that surface calm can hide a ticking bomb. But in those hidden depths, who's really calling the shots? Think about it. Who do you suspect pulls the strings in places like this? Hit the comments with your guesses. Inside those concrete barriers, does the law of the land win out? Or does money and muscle make the rules? Dig into human rights reports and you'll see a stark truth. Bribery, short staffing, and grim living conditions carve out space for gangs to rule. Cartels pull strings from cells, orchestrating deals and hits while creating a shadow justice system. Official rules on paper, but fear, favors, and cash in reality. This isn't just La Mesa's problem. It's baked into many Mexican prisons, where corruption lets the powerful bend the bars. Over time, it erodes any shot at fair reform, leaving the vulnerable even more exposed. But zoom in. What does this so-called control feel like in the day-to-day grind? Could you hold it together locked in a tiny box for 23 hours a day, chasing sunlight like it's a myth? After the 2002 shakeup, La Mesa flipped to high-security mode. Cramped cells crawling with bugs and rats, spotty beds, and bare-bones medical care. Inmates face near-constant isolation. Think 2 hours of sun a week if you're lucky, mirroring those US Supermax setups that experts warn wreck minds, sparking hallucinations, deep depression, and higher odds of reoffending. It's like a machine squeezing the life out of people, where rehab turns into slow erosion. No wonder groups like the ACLU flag these tactics as mental torture. Does all this iron grip make the place safer, or just deceptively still? What's your take? Does isolation fix anything, or make it worse? Share in the comments below. When your voice gets stripped away along with your freedom, what's left to cling to? Foreign prisoners, including Americans, hit extra walls. No translators mean lost pleas. Patchy healthcare leaves illnesses festering, and cultural isolation amps up the despair. Stories from reports paint a vivid picture. Delayed treatments, language barriers turning simple needs into battles. Strip away words, sunlight, and human contact, and minds crack. Higher suicide risks, lasting trauma that follows them out the gates, feeding cycles of crime. Even figures like Sister Antonia Brenner, the prison angel who lived in a cell there for decades to help inmates, highlighted how these wounds scar deeper than bars ever could. If locking down doesn't truly tame the beast, what hard numbers and timelines expose the real story? We all want security, but is there a way to get it without planting seeds for more trouble down the line? Flashback to the loose 90s, Pueblito, days of open markets and hidden hits, crushed in 2002's raid. Yet by 2008, riots still raged, claiming over 20 lives despite the clampdown. And as of 2025, La Mesa continues as a maximum security fortress, housing around 3,000 inmates under strict solitary conditions, with lingering whispers of corruption showing that old shadows haven't fully faded. Broader Mexican prison data from think tanks screams for fixes, more resources, independent watches, and basic dignity to break the violence loop. Wrapping those open questions, who holds power? Gangs adapt and thrive in the gaps? And does control cut violence? It mutes the noise, sure, but skips the roots like corruption and overcrowding, letting problems fester underground. True change needs more than walls. So, is La Mesa solving the puzzle, or just a glaring symptom of bigger border woes? Ponder that for a second. What bigger issues do you see at play here? Let's discuss in the comments. Are we trimming the weeds of violence, or finally yanking them out by the roots? Tijuana's role as a smuggling crossroads ties La Mesa to deeper societal thorns. Poverty pulling kids into cartels, underground economies thriving unchecked. Prisons like this are just the endgame. They can't fix folks without outside help like education and jobs to break the cycle. Reports push for those upstream solutions, warning that ignoring roots means recycled pain spilling across borders, affecting us all. What if the real key isn't thicker walls but stronger communities? And when we release someone whole on the outside but shattered within, what kind of ripple does that send into our shared world? Pulling it all together, La Mesa didn't just transform, it mutated. From a chaotic prison town buzzing with markets, families, and cartel bosses running the show, into a concrete machine designed to squeeze the humanity out of anyone inside. But here's the catch. Those underground powers never died. They just learned how to play quieter, sharper, and smarter. Order might silence the riots, but silence doesn't mean safety. Real security, that takes more than walls. It means real oversight, basic human dignity, and tackling the roots outside. Poverty, education, opportunity, before young recruits ever set foot in a cell. So here's what I want you to sit with. With the border this thin between us, when a place like La Mesa can erase a voice before the sentence is even served, do we call that safety or the steep price of silence? And if tomorrow someone walks out of those gates with their body intact but their spirit broken, how should our society, yours and mine, be ready to face that? I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Is this control the kind of justice we need? Or is it just another way of losing ourselves in the process? And if you feel that pull to keep searching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss a step in our journey to uncover what still hides on this earth. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.